Welcome to the World Cup Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the west coast of the U.S., Josh Lander, joined by my mate as always in England. Dan, how are you today, sir?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Really enjoying the round of 16 soccer/football that we're watching from a tipping point of view on 4 out of 6 and all on plus odds. So I know you've been following my tips. Hopefully the viewers have been listening as well. And with that in mind, let's try and make you some more money.
Yeah, let's do that because I'm happy to continue following you. I was happy to take Kylian Mbappe to score. He did that twice with some wonderful finishes. Giroud almost had 2 himself, but still one goal enough that you called there as well, and obviously the French victory. So plus odds raining in for us. Make sure to continue following along, like and subscribe to the page. We're coming at you every single day of the World Cup with these videos. Also have Dan's great articles on thelines.com. He's covering everything we talk about here and some more in those articles on thelines.com, where we also have the great odds finder tool in all those articles, so you can use that to make sure you're getting the best juice back from all these sports books offering these World Cup odds to you guys. We are looking at, help me Dan, day 15 or 16 already?
Day 16, I believe.
16 is right. I keep forgetting. Tuesday, December the 6th is the 2 games that we're looking at for the next round of 16 matches that we're talking about here, Dan. Portugal and Switzerland and Morocco and Spain. We're going to kick things off with the later game, as we are wont to do. Kicks off at 11 a.m. on the Pacific coast here in the States. Portugal and Switzerland. Portugal is minus 110 to win there in full time in regulation. The draw plus 245 to end after 90 minutes plus stoppage. And Switzerland plus 330 there to win that game in 90 minutes time. So where do you start with this game, Dan?
Well, they have met recently in the Nations League. Not quite friendlies, but they're not quite full-blooded international football. But with that said, 2 meetings, they've won a match each. They've also met 5 times in the last 4 years, I believe. They met twice in World Cup qualifiers for 2018. And again, both nations won each. In the last 5 fixtures, Portugal won 3, Switzerland have won 2. So there's very little between the two. Now, I feel that when you're looking at the odds to start with, Switzerland, they were quite attacking against Serbia, actually, more surprising than usual. They're usually kind of known to be a defensive team, but they kind of released the shackles and they were much more positive against Serbia. Maybe because they needed to, but they got the job done. And it kind of makes you feel, actually, there might be a little bit more in the tank for them against Portugal. So I'm thinking that a draw after 90 minutes might be the starting point at plus 225 I've got on this side of the pond. And then I'm going to build on that by going for a Portugal win in 120 minutes. So that's a Portugal win in extra time at anywhere between plus 900, plus 1200.
Wow. So question for you and for the viewers. If you were to take a draw at the half and a Portugal win, Portugal would have to win in regulation, correct?
Yes. So if you're going draw half-time, Portugal full-time, that has to be done in 90 minutes. You can get that about plus 350, which again is not bad, but I'm thinking that this game is going to need more time to get a final winner over the line. So that's why I'm going for Portugal, because when you assess the 2 teams, you've got to ask yourself, how long can Switzerland keep Portugal's defence at bay? And if they can get the job done for 90 minutes, Ronaldo always has a habit of popping up at some point. You know, you kind of, by brute force, if nothing else, Portugal always seems to have that ability to just grind out an extra time win. So that's why I'm going for that extra period of time, just Portugal needing that little bit more. So, as I say, if you can't really decide yourself and think, well, it might go to extra time, could even go to penalties, then just go for the draw after 90 minutes and let the fate unfold in front of you. But if you're kind of more confident that something's going to happen thereafter, then that's where you can start really squeezing out some more value. So for me, it's the draw at plus 225, but I'm going to build on that with Portugal to win after extra time at plus anywhere between plus 900, plus 1200.
And if they win in PKs, that wins your bet as well for them to win after regulation, or no?
No, because you have to select that as the method of victory. So you could say, for about the same odds, you could say Portugal to win on penalties at about plus 900, plus 1000, plus 1000 for use of a better term. So yes, you have to sort of stipulate. You can't sort of say, okay, well, anything after 90 minutes, job done. You have to sort of say, there's 3 different options. You can either go for the 90-minute win, you can either go for the extra time win, or the penalties win. So you don't want to get caught out by that one, that if you backed the extra time win and they went on penalties, that would be a losing bet.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's very important to be clear about here for bettors who might be thinking that if they take Portugal to win, after the full time ends, that's not the same as choosing PKs. Those are 2 separate bets. So just want to clarify. Getting back to some of the game theory, Switzerland is not afraid, as you mentioned, against Portugal for sure. They haven't been afraid against the Brazilians. Nope. They haven't been afraid against the Dutch when they've played them. The French, they're not scared essentially, and that's because of the fact that they're so tight knit in the defense. and continue to be able to, withstand any type of, really onslaught of attack. So I wouldn't, I would feel pretty confident of this game drawing at the end, at least enough to get 2.5 on my money there. What do you think about the amount of goals being scored in this one? And is there any value, if you do believe in a draw, on sort of expanding upon that bet to choose a goal, an amount of goals scored, or obviously a correct score of say 1-1, 2-2 in that area?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go for a draw, I'd imagine this would be a low-scoring draw. So a good starting point is draw and under 2.5 goals. That's plus 275. So that's always, a good way to sort of add a bit more value to it, a bit more meat to the bones. Correct score, of course, it's a bit more difficult to nail down, but you could go 1-1 for the same sort of intents and purposes. That is plus 600. Again, a good starting point, but you've got no real margin for error. At least the first option, you could get a 2-2 draw or even a 0-0 draw. You've got sort of 3 score lines to protect you there. This one, you're going, right, it has to be 1-1 for me to get those bigger odds. So it's all about sort of the balance, the risk versus the reward that you want to take. So for me, I wouldn't go for the correct score because, as I say, it's a bit more difficult to nail down. You don't get that same kind of range. Whereas if you go for the draw and under 2.5 goals, you've got your 0-0 or your 1-0 to secure you there.
Yeah, it feels better that way. I mean, the only reason I go that route to juice it up a little bit, although I don't know that it's worth it, right? If you get the draw at plus 245, let's say, plus 250, and it juices it up to plus 280 if you guess the amount of goals being under 2.5, as you say, doesn't seem quite worth the squeeze in the event that there is a random 2-2 score or something of that nature. Obviously, 2-2 would be the max tie that I would really see in this game with the way that the Swiss play, obviously, their style and lack of really like a frenetic pace of any kind. So I'm with you on that. I like the idea of Portugal being able to win in extra time because of the fact that they have so much off the bench as well, and they have a bunch more that they can pour onto the field, I think, than the Swiss. My last question to you about this one is about Christie. We do expect him to start in this one as he's been doing, which means he's probably coming out near 70 to 75 minutes, depending on the way the match is going, which could create a problem if they need him, obviously, in extra time or penalties is where you really want him as well. So is there any value in him being an anytime scorer around plus 150, or are there any other areas of goal scorers that you're looking for?
Do you know what? I like the look of plus 150. Again, it's not the boldest bet, but when you consider he hasn't scored in the 2 remaining games of the group stage, he scored that goal against Ghana from the penalty spot, you get the feeling he's due a goal. Almost like Giroud, we kept sort of tipping him each game until he's just scored against Poland. So it's more a case of not if, but when. Also got to factor in that Ronaldo's going to want to win the Golden Boot more so than anything else because it's a personal accolade for him. He's on the outside of the fringes of the contenders, but it's not over yet. If he gets 2 goals against Switzerland, he's kind of back in the race, and then you've got another game of football thereafter in the last 8, and so on and so forth. So for him, he kind of needs a goal to make that realistic award coming his way. So yeah, I would take it actually. Sometimes you kind of be a bit clever and go, well, let's look down the list because it might be another option. But sometimes when it's staring you in the face, you just have to take it, and it's kind of gone to form already with our goal scorer pick. So why not? We've had Memphis Depay, we've ticked him off. We've had Giroud, so let's go for Ronaldo as well.
Yep, absolutely. And the only other thing I would say about Ronaldo is I do think he's looking for that goal so much so that, to your point, I think you've got to maybe look at some goal shots on goal and shots props for him as well, as I believe he'll be peppering it as much as he can to try to get that other one to at least get 2 in this World Cup, to your point. So any other areas of value for this one before we move on to the second game of the day?
To be honest, I don't think there is. I think it's going to be quite a narrow game, to be honest. As I say, I've got extra time written all over it for me. So I think that's where the value is. If you're bold enough to take it to 120 minutes of football, that's where the money is, in my opinion.
I love it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's move on to the actually first game of the day, as it's starting at 7 a.m. here on the Pacific time zone. Morocco and Spain. Pretty fun matchup here as the Moroccans were able to come out of that group winning it with Belgium in there with them. Obviously disappointing for the Belgians, but as they're here in the round of 16, they're plus 550 to win in regular time, plus 275 is the draw, and Spain is minus 165 there as favorites, which minus 165 still feels a little bit like they're not respecting Spain quite as much as they should. Obviously, they failed to win their last game in that group. So is that perhaps why the odds on Spain are a little bit shorter than you might think?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, actually. Had they beat Japan, that price is probably minus 300 for starters. It's a lot more skinnier than what we've got. But at the same time, there's no real value in backing Spain at that price because they lost to Japan. So they're not, they're not a perfect team. They only got 4 points from their group. Yes, they drew to Germany and smashed Costa Rica, but you look at the kind of the evidence and it's not quite clicked for Spain at the moment. And for that reason, I wouldn't be in a rush to back them to win this game. I feel the value pick is probably the draw at plus 260, plus 300. And again, after extra time, it might be difficult to call, because if it gets to extra time, Morocco are going to feel even more confident. And then from there, who knows what might happen. So we look at the sample of matches we've had in the World Cups thus far. We're over 50 matches now, and nearly half of those have been 0-0 at half time. So you could be looking at another 0-0 half time. That could be another starting point. Morocco have only conceded one goal, and that was an own goal. So they haven't really conceded a goal from somebody else. It's only been their own doing. So again, if that kind of platform at the back can be resolute and withstand the barrage of Spanish attack, then why not? Why not back maybe, under 1.5 goals? So just allow yourself a goal, but some sort of under metric might be the best way to go here to squeeze a bit of value. But in terms of Spain winning, they are favourites, but I'm not racing to back the Spanish after what I've seen already.
And to clarify again for the viewers, under 1.5 goals is regular time, and it makes it clear on the site as well. But you want to make sure that you know what you're talking about here. When you go under 1.5, you're saying less than 2 goals will be scored at the end of 90 minutes plus stoppage. So just clarifying that for everybody. I'm with you on Morocco and how solid that they've looked in the defense. I would say Croatia and Belgium weren't exactly two teams that really challenged them. Is the only caveat that I would throw out there.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the amount of goals being scored against Morocco. I do think Morocco is just as capable as some of these really feisty teams that we've seen. Teams like Senegal, teams like even Saudi Arabia, where once they get on a counter, they have a couple guys that are professional strikers and can put the ball in the back of the net. So you do need to be wary of that. But I think the Spanish have looked so in control of the game, right? And that's been why Croatia and Belgium were at least able to dominate possession against Morocco. Was those two teams play that similar style? No one plays it like Spain in terms of ticky-tacky and all that. But as far as keeping the ball and keeping possession, that's what these teams have been doing against Morocco, keeping the score low, helping the Moroccans keep the score low as well, with the sort of slower pace that's been played in all of their games. And I'm sure they're happy to continue that here against Spain, which would lead me to believe what you're saying here, right? You've got Spain wanting to play pass, keep the ball no matter what, and you've got Morocco going, that's fine, because we're going to stay staunch in defense and we're happy to just find our counters and be patient, and then go. If the Spanish remain intact in the defense, then those goals will remain, from coming, I think, too often in this game. So all that being said, where else are you looking here? I agree with you. There's not much there for the Spanish to win in regulation. I think under in goals and somewhere near a draw also does help you. I think the first half draw sounds lovely as well. Anything else in this one that you're searching for?
I feel that Alvaro Morata might be a person to look at, and not in terms of goals, although he has scored 3 in 3 matches in the World Cup. Just something as simple as shots on target. You can get over 1.5 or 2, for use of a better term, at plus 135. Again, we're not asking for goals, we're just asking for shots. Yep. And if Morocco are going to frustrate Spain, it might be a case of wave after wave after wave of Spanish attack, but no actual breaking point of the Moroccan defence. So there you're going to probably consider yourself having Spain lots of shots, because they're going to try so hard to break down that defence and get frustrated. So for someone like Morata, who's in the goal-scoring groove, he might break them down eventually, but I wouldn't be prepared to back that. So the shots on target, 2 of those, I think it's also a good starting point in terms of value.
Yep, I'm with it. I was thinking of another little parlay, maybe Morata and Ferran Torres to have each of them to have 1.5 plus 1.5, as you say, 2 shots on goal, and you put those together. Now you're looking at about plus 265, plus 270 is where I found some pretty good juice on that little parlay for those 2 guys who will be doing the bulk of the attack and firing on goal, as we know. I think they'll need to be hitting some of these shots from roughly 16, 18 yards out, because they're not going to be allowed to get too close to the keeper, as we've seen with Morocco. But if they're able to at least keep those under the bar, I think that there's an opportunity to get those shots on goal for the Spanish here. So that is all the time that we have in this one, Dan. I want to allow you some time to go breathe, have a pint, get ready for this English match as they take on Senegal. Remind everybody, what are you betting on in this one, so you can look right when everybody sees this video?
So I've gone for Harry Kane to score any time, and I've gone for a 2-0 England win, because I feel that England's just need to get the job done. I don't think they need to go mad, especially now with France lurking around the corner. Get to 60, 65 minutes, 2 goals in the bank, get the big names off, get over the line, job done. So yeah, Harry Kane, one of those goals, 2 in total, that'll be absolutely fine.
and keep Dan's blood pressure from spiking
Yes.
as well. That would be lovely. So, absolutely. Until we see you guys next, continue coming back. Like we said, we're here every single day of the World Cup, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. And until we see you next, happy betting.